Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you may be in the world. I'm Sarah Jane, your hostess for the Intuitive Healing Channel program this evening on Gift of Healing TV. And I am delighted to welcome Alexandra P Brown this evening. Let me read a little about Alexandra to you, and then I'm going to introduce you to her properly. Alexandra P Brown, the top transformation expert, spiritual guide and master energy healer. Her passion stems from seeing her clients and students flourish. She is an expert at helping others achieve their dreams, no matter their challenges. A catalyst, motivator, and coach, she has helped over 16,000 people with psychic readings, coaching, healing, and manifesting. A testimonial from John Asraf, the New York Times bestseller and teacher on the hit DVD The Secret. That reading was mind-bogglingly good and precise. A tarot deck, Attraction Tarot, has been featured on TV and is fast becoming the preferred tool of professional psychics. Alexandra, welcome, and it's lovely to have you on the program.
Thank you. I'm delighted to be here.
Excellent. Alexandra, I'll ask all my guests at the beginning of the program to share a little of their story, a little of how, whether you started very young, a little of how it all came about that you're doing what you do, because I know we've all had our journeys, and I think people like to hear a little about our journeys.
Okay, well, I guess as a kid, I started like most kids, really, really super sensitive to all the atmosphere, energy, thoughts and feelings of others around me. And I was acutely aware of it. So I used to say things, I used to say things to my family, to the friends, to the extended family, people who came round. So I'd know, like, okay, my auntie Sandra was going to have a migraine in half an hour because really her husband wore too much aftershave and she was really stressed anyway, but she'd get these migraine, and I kind of time it and know it. And I was kind of told, not directly, but just from the atmosphere, like, just shut up, just be quiet, because it was something nobody could explain, and I was just a kid, yeah. So from like 3 onwards. So I remember thinking, oh, all this information is really bad and I have to be quiet. So that's kind of how I got into it, except for my mother, when I was a little bit older, she had this tarot deck. It was an old Marseille deck. And she was really superstitious, so she wouldn't throw it away. She wouldn't use it. So she put it up on a shelf. And I remember climbing up to get to the shelf and taking this tarot deck and knowing how to use it and playing with it and then putting it back in exactly the same place. So in a way, my parents got me into all this, yeah, by kind of telling me in a roundabout way, don't do it. Of course, being rebellious and being me, I did. And then I had to unlearn all the lessons, like being sensitive was like a really bad thing in my family, yeah. And in society, in a way, even when I did a psychotherapy training, I remember some of the feedback was, you're too sensitive, yeah, you're overly emotional. And I thought, well, I'm passionate, but it was like that. So I got into healing, reading, stuff like that to help myself initially. Yeah, and then came about other people wanted to come to me and wanted to get help, and I continue to use it to help myself as well as other people. Yeah,
and that's brilliant, isn't it? Because I think the best place to start for every single one of us is to help ourselves, because until we help ourselves, how can we help anybody anyway? So
exactly.
It's a brilliant place to start.
Exactly. And later on, I was giving readings. I gave readings amateurly, from a very early age, and I started doing it professionally as a teenager because it beat working at the laundrette or the local hairdresser and sweeping up people's hair. Yeah. So I started doing that on a market in London. which was interesting. And later on through the years, somebody came in, I was doing online readings, somebody came into my chat room and said, Alexandra, you really should do theta healing. And I was like, what's that? And she said, it's going to be the next best thing. And I said, okay, I'll do it. I knew nothing about it. Long story short, I lined up for a course, went into my first basic course, my first entrance to theta healing. Had no clue what it was about, but I respected this other psychic, so I just went along with it. And I walk in, and one of the first things the teacher asked us to do was do a body scan on somebody and look psychically inside their body. And I remember thinking, no. I've paid you to learn. I'm not coming here to be psychic. This is what I do. And that's when I kind of realized that all people in the healing professions, most of them, maybe 99%, are psychic or highly sensitive. Is a better name for it. Yeah. And I learned during that process how to go to a different kind of atmosphere, if you will, in order not to take on other people's stuff. So I can't teach people how to not be sensitive. So there may be a bunch of people out there who are thinking they're too sensitive, just like I thought. But over time, I've realized your kind of your challenge is your gift. Yeah, and it's exciting. It's actually exciting if you're that sensitive and you can pick things up about other people, situations, etc. The only time it sort of can get in the way is if you're in the supermarket and you don't want to pick up, you just don't want to know. So there's a ritual you can do for that. You just literally, it is a ritual. You just imagine taking all your chakras, going from the bottom with your hand down and zipping yourself up as if you've kind of closed them off. And that gives you this illusion of being separate. So there's one tip. And it is a ritual. And if you don't want anybody knowing what you're doing, just make it look like you're messing with your hair. You zip yourself up. Yeah, but I learned a lot of different ways of doing psychic readings that involved me going to a higher plane of existence, if you will. So what that does, again, is it separates me from the everyday Alexandra, yeah, into being able to see from a higher perspective. So it's a meditation, really. It's like a meditation, yeah? And you can go to this, you can go quiet and go into this other space and get better information. A bit like if some healers, they channel spirit guides, yeah, psychics channel passed over loved ones, stuff like this. So they're taking some element of their consciousness out of themselves and channeling information. Whereas where we go is to this place we call the seventh plane, but it's literally a place of unconditional love, so that you can see clearer. Yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah,
so,
it makes a lot of sense, and I think it is just about stepping out of our mind and our judgment and just allowing in the true energies of what's meant to be there. Because I think judgment is your mind starts going off, and you start, you're getting in your own way, and you're getting in the way of the individual. And so what you're saying is you're stepping to a place that you can let go of the mind in that respect. And when the mind comes in and it puts in all its doubts, etc.
Yeah, well, the first thing, if somebody comes to you for a reading, the first thing you're going to pick up on, kind of empathically, is their desire. Yeah, so they'll ask a question, but their desire for whatever outcome is so strong that you are going to feel that. And that's not the truth of the whole situation. Yeah. So that's part of it as well, to take yourself up and above, not just your own you know, programming or beliefs, but also those of the person you're reading for. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a dance. You're here and you're there. It's kind of like a dance. But people have these beliefs. I was talking to you about this when we chatted before. So a classic one, I have to feel it in order to understand it. Yeah. Or I have to take on somebody else's illness in order to heal it. Yeah. And this comes from like that old shaman tradition. Yeah. And Vianna Stibel, who's the founder of Theta Healing, calls that the fourth plane, like fourth plane beliefs, or where you've had so many lifetimes of doing things that way that some healers that I've met and worked with automatically take on like the negativity of somebody else. Yeah. And it doesn't help them, obviously. And it doesn't necessarily heal the person they're working with. It just makes everyone feel bad. And I was explaining to one healer, look, you know, because she was saying, oh, you know, people come to me and they're in a terrible state and they're really miserable and depressed and they bring me down. And I'm like, well, if I go to a healer, I'm highly unlikely to go when I'm all happy and yeah.
Exactly.
It's unlikely, although we do have more and more evolved people who go to healers to get to the next level. So, you know, but yeah, these kind of people will take on or get scared before they even go into their own session.
Yeah.
Or they'll say they've got burnt out, or they just can't handle this one particular client who's just really, really negative. Whereas really that client's just going through a really hard time. They may have a right to be negative at that point. That's another thing. And not only they're going through a really hard time at that time, but it could just be a phase. It might have nothing to do with who they truly are. Yeah. Because generally when people come to us, again, I'm being general, but they come to us when they're in trouble. It's like if I go to my doctor, I don't go when I'm well. I go when I think there's something wrong. And people, same for readings, people come to me for readings if they're nervous or anxious about the future, or something bad's happened and they're worried that it's going to carry on and it's never going to change, stuff like this. So again, I mean, we're going to do a bit within today, it's just a technique, a theta healing technique to take ourselves up above our own space to a different plane of existence. And that somehow, I'm not sure how, if I'm really honest, but somehow that increases your psychic abilities.
Right.
Yeah. So I always thought I was pretty friggin' psychic before, but things got clearer when I was in this theta brainwave pattern. Okay. Now there are other ways to get into a theta brainwave pattern. You know, if you go to a good hypnotist, yeah, they can help take you into that because it's a semi-hypnotic state. But this is something that people can do for themselves and check and see, you know, if they've had past lives where they've been like medicine women or shamans and taken on something from somebody else. And the other thing I want to say just really quickly is sometimes we do that when we love somebody. Yeah. It's like someone in a family will say, well, I would rather I was ill than you. Yeah. Or I'd rather this happen to me, if it's your best friend or your partner, your lover, your husband, you know. So it's not always from the belief system of having to take it on from someone else. And the reason I'm explaining all this is clearly this is something I used to do all the time. It was automatic. Yeah. I didn't know another way. I just sort of send out energy into somebody else's space, pick up their energy, bring it back to me. It was automatic. So I probably had lots of lifetimes where that happened, you know, where I was trained in that. And of course, it's much easier now. You don't have to do that with people. Yeah. It's not that you're going to be oblivious to the atmosphere, but you can certainly be more protected and not, you know, not walk around with somebody else's stuff, because then it gets really confusing, because then what's yours, what's theirs? So what I used to do with readings is, when I did them like that, is I'd spend ages after each reading untangling myself from what was mine, what was theirs, what I had to give back, what had nothing to do with me, and what I had to work on. So it's just kind of too complicated, really. So this technique just makes things, yeah, easier. There's also something where, you know, somebody's caused you pain, yeah? Let's say they've caused you emotional pain, and they suddenly, you know, decided they're not your friend anymore, yeah, for example, and you feel like there's a piece of you kind of missing, because that little piece of your spirit, if you will, is attached to them, and it's almost like sealed in with the trauma, and vice versa. So you can have literally like soul fragments or energy from somebody else. Yeah. And so I thought we could do a meditation where everyone can tune into that, give back the energy they have of anybody else's throughout their lifetime that they've held, and receive back their own energy.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that would be brilliant. So some of this is about how to untangle your psyche from all the background noise, and untangle yourself from other people that are no longer in your life as well.
Yeah, yeah. And it's first of all, you have to figure out what you believe. Yeah. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
You talked earlier about non-judgment, or getting out of that judgmental space. But even evolved people have judgments, you know. For example, like very simple ones and good ones. Maybe they're good ones. Like it's good to have a good vibe, yeah? Or it's negative to have a bad vibe, etc. So you have to sort out your beliefs and become, if you will, in that time of healing or reading, because I don't expect people to do this all the time unless they're enlightened, and I'm not. Maybe one day I'll get there, but you know what I mean? I don't expect people to be constantly up, constantly non-judgmental. But people surprise me all the time when my judgment just lifts off, yeah, or slides off. People come out with incredible, wise, kind things if you're just open to it. All kinds of people in any situation. So yeah, it's I think the times that in general, for anyone who's listening, when they get caught up in other people's stuff, they could be really close to that person, have a really close friendship or relationship, and they could have things, mainly it happens like this, they have things that they need to confront, and they don't want to because they love that person, or they're scared of the consequences, and so then it becomes like it comes into their psyche all the time, or lingers in the background. Yeah.
That makes an awful lot of sense, because I suppose there are people who've been in long-term relationships, and as much as they've known they really should be out of it, it's taken them a really long time to do it. And I know I'm one of them.
Oh, okay. Well, that's taken me to a different tangent, but yeah, I get you. If that can be part of it as well, but it's generally unresolved stuff with people. Yeah, and because people are quite kind, they're quite polite, and they don't want to hurt the people who are close to them. And then they've got things they need to sort out, and they're scared to sort them out because they don't want to hurt their feelings, or they don't know how to say it in a way that isn't threatening or critical, or yeah. So we have that about groups of people. So I'll give you like one more example. This is quite embarrassing, but I think I might have gotten over it now. But going into a supermarket like Asda, yeah, and then finding yourself like in this collective consciousness of consumerism, right? And everyone's grabbing this, that, and the other, and it just feels slightly inhumane. And there's a certain type of person who's whizzing around and they're angry and they want everyone out the way. And so, you know, there's a belief about that kind of person, yeah, and how they are, and they're in a rush, or people on the road, you know, cars that are really fast and aggressive, or that kind of thing. So it's like, how do you untangle yourself from that? Well, it's always to do with you, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's to do with me, my judgment, my idea of what type of person I like, or what kind of situation, or what kind of energy or environment I want to be around. So then I have to look at my own beliefs. And as soon as I change those beliefs about that type of person or that type of situation, really good things can happen. Yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah. Yes.
And
yeah, it does.
Well, there's basic stuff as well, like the collective consciousness beliefs. So we have society's beliefs that they tell us if we read the newspaper. Yeah, or sometimes I'm sitting there on Facebook doing a post and somebody's put up something about the recession, and I'm like, are we in one? Are we still in one? I'm not really sure. I haven't looked recently. I won't watch the news unless something majorly global happens. I tend not to read newspapers because they get on my nerves, and you know, or they're written in a way that is highly what I call toxic. Yeah. So I'm not telling people to just have no judgment about that, or no discernment. Of course, you can have discernment. But this is what collective consciousness beliefs, and they tend to be the beliefs that general society, if you will, our governments want us to believe, or the newspapers, because they want to sell more newspapers. And they tend to do it out of sensationalism and fear. Yeah?
Yeah.
So that's a collective conscious belief. Like, oh, there's a recession, everyone's running out of money. Yeah? Or there's a war on terror. Yeah, and there's terror everywhere, and we have to be afraid all the time. This is what Jung called the collective consciousness. So again, probably the best way to separate yourself from that is to meditate. Bring yourself back from the outside to yourself and meditate, so that you then have your own sense of peace and your own beliefs, and you don't have to go wondering about what everyone else is saying.
Yeah, because with everybody, it's our own stuff. If we get ourselves into a hyped up state, it's our own stuff. It actually has nothing to do with anybody else. And I'm with you with the television and with the news and the newspapers. I'm on a negativity diet. I don't watch them and I don't read them. So absolutely. Are you ready to sort of share the meditation, the exercise with us? So folks, if you want to listen to what Alexandra's got to say and get yourselves relaxed, and I'm looking forward to this.
Okay, so we're all going to do this. So everyone take a deep breath in and imagine that the oxygen of that breath is just going wherever it wants to. It's easier if you have your eyes closed. Let that oxygen run through you. Take your awareness, your consciousness, as if you're going into the center of the earth, and bring up a beautiful light from the center of the earth up through your feet. Feel that light, or see it, come up through your legs. As it rises up through every part of your body, it's almost like you're seeing yourself glowing from the inside out. And as this light comes up, it opens up all your psychic senses, your chakras. Let it come up all the way till it fills in the top of your head, out through the top of your head into a huge globe of light. I want you to imagine yourself inside that globe of light. And I want you to imagine this globe of light rising up and out into the sky, out of the Earth's atmosphere, all the way up through layers of bright lights and dimmer lights, and bright lights and dimmer lights, and all the way up through a kind of jelly-like substance, almost like thick water. Take your globe up through that, and then imagine and feel or see a pearly iridescent bright white light. Imagine yourself going inside this bright white light, and take yourself deeper and deeper and deeper into this bright white light. I want you to feel and sense this bright white light as if you're surrounded by wisdom and unconditional love. And see how far you can relax into it. You let go of any tension in your body. Any frustration. Any stress in your mind and your emotions. Just imagine that all melting away into this pearly, iridescent, bright white light. And inside your mind, I want you to make a command and just say this just quietly inside. Energy of all that is, it is commanded that all soul fragments from all generations of time, eternity, and between time belonging to me be released, cleansed, and returned to me. Thank you. It is done, it's done, it's done. And then I want you to just witness as all stuck old energy of your soul lifts up off you, gets cleansed in this pearly, iridescent, bright white light, and it becomes more and more sparkly, and it's returned to you so that you become more sparkly. And any soul fragments or energy pieces that anybody else has as yours, you also witness it going up into this bright white light, being cleansed, lightened, made more sparkly, and returned to you. And then if there isn't a specific person in your life that you feel you're holding on to, make this command. Creator of all that is, it is commanded that all soul fragments I have that belong to someone else from all generations of time, eternity, and between time be released, cleansed, and returned to their rightful owners. Thank you. It is done. It's done. It's done. And I'm just going to witness yourself in this bright white light and all this energy that others have that belongs to you, and all the energy that you have that belongs to them. It's all being cleansed in the bright white light and returning to its rightful owners. Relax deeper and deeper in this pearly, iridescent, bright white light. Okay, so now you're going to make the command to have a little read of your own future. So whilst you're in this pearly, iridescent, bright white light, make the command, energy or creator of all that is, it is commanded that I see my Akashic records now. Thank you. It's done, it's done, it's done. Show me. I want you to imagine that you're right at the edge of this pearly, iridescent, bright white light. And from down below, from the jelly-like substance, which is the Lord's, the Akashic records come up. And they literally come up to greet you. I want you to see your name and maybe just look for something that happens over the next year. Look for something beautiful and see what the message says. So the Akashic records have come up. There's a file with your name. Inside that file is a beautiful event that's going to happen within the next 12 months in your life. Have a look on the piece of paper, see what it says. If the words don't jump out on you, you might get a feeling or a picture or a sensation. Okay, now just let that go. Bring yourself back, your awareness back into this pearly, iridescent, bright white light. And imagine as if within the bright white light, you're having a shower of unconditional love. And this essence and feeling and energy of unconditional love permeates all of who you are. It fills up every cell of your body. It goes into your brain and soothes all your thoughts. It moves into your heart, your beautiful heart, making you feel more and more love. And just for this moment, a deep sense of peace. Now remember your beautiful globe, your globe of light. Put yourself back inside it. Bring yourself out of the pearly iridescent bright white light. Bring yourself down through the jelly-like substance, through layers of bright lights and dimmer lights and bright lights and dimmer lights, all the way back into your own space. Remember the light from the center of the earth as it rises up through your feet, through your whole body, making you feel relaxed and more balanced. Open your eyes.
Thank you for that. Folks, if you've got any comments you'd like to make, anything you'd like to share to do with that, because I know we've got live viewers here with us, please do. If you've got any questions for Alexandra, please ask them. That's why we're here. It's your program. It's all for you. So please do. And those of you that are watching the replay or the YouTube video, if you've got questions, then either post them underneath the video or send us an email at thegiftofhealingtv.com. And we're going to give you Alexandra's website as well. So please contact her direct. You haven't got to come through me. But please, if you've got any questions now, please do. That was really interesting. Thank you very much indeed. I didn't get to see my Akashic records, but that's fine. I have no issues with that. I'm one of these people, I think, that I'm very much of the belief that what I need to know, I get to know when I need to know. If that makes sense.
I mean, yeah, that's why I ask people to look for something beautiful and nice, and it's like not the date you were born and when you die and all that stuff. It's just have a little look. I mean, that we did really, really fast. Okay, normally you'd spend a little more time doing it, but because we're on this like live webinar and we have a certain amount of time, I also realized that we didn't get around to talking about psychic attacks. What can I tell you about psychic attacks? Most people aren't very good at them. Meaning that a psychic attack can normally roll off you. Yeah. So you may get a feeling that somebody's thinking something bad about you, for example, and you may experience a certain discomfort or a certain thought about them. Yeah. But I wanted to tell you about a psychic attack that somebody sent me, who actually was a trained psychic as well. And she sent me this psychic attack. She couldn't help it. She was just in a very, very bad mood with me. I can laugh about it now, but it wasn't too pleasant. I fell asleep and I had a nightmare about this woman, who was also my friend, by the way. I didn't know what was going on. She lived on the other side of, well, halfway around the world from me. It was a different time zone. I woke up in the morning and I was really like feeling dreadful. And I thought, what on earth's going on? And I went automatically to my phone messages. And there was a message from her basically saying, don't ever contact me again. I never want to speak to you again. She'd got in a bad mood with me over something really simple, which was I'd won a competition and she'd got annoyed, put it that way. But because she didn't admit it for 3 years, by the way. But that's another thing. She's adorable. She's wonderful. She didn't do it on purpose. You know, she went on this rant. I had a bad dream. I went to the phone, there it was, and I thought, that's funny because I had a really bad dream. I had a bit of a headache. And I was like, I'm very, very upset. And anyway, there is this process, like what we did, where you can send all kind of psychic attacks up to God's light, or up to the energy of all that is, goddess, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. We say it is commanded rather than I ask for, because it takes the I out of it, and the command makes it as if it's happening. Yeah, as if you have faith that it's already happening. So you say something like, it's commanded that all psychic attacks be automatically sent to the light. Thank you, it's done, it's done, it's done, show me. And then watch as any psychic attacks or bad thoughts, maybe that you're having about someone else or they're having about you, just lifts up, goes back into that pearly iridescent bright white light and dissolves. It's always best to take yourself into that bright light as well. Again, back to what we were talking about earlier about people rising above their own space, yeah, or rising above our own paradigms, our own everyday beliefs, our own everyday thoughts. So the more you practice this, the easier it becomes, and you can go into this theta brainwave pattern automatically. Yeah, but I just wanted to explain a bit about psychic attacks. It's not necessarily that somebody's really got it in for you. They could just be having a really rotten time. Or in this case, in the case that I gave, it was an incredible misunderstanding, you know. And the lady actually didn't talk to me for 3 years. And 3 years later, it was okay because I got over it. But 3 years later, she said to me, you know, I knew at the time that I was wrong. And I'm like, really? And I said to her, why didn't you, you know, because I was so upset because we were friends as well. And I was like, well, why didn't you? She said, I just couldn't. And then she said, the longer I left it, the harder it was to say something. By the way, she was a sweetheart. So I didn't hold anything against her, you know. She's an absolute sweetheart and she is a genius psychic. So anyway, stuff happens.
Absolutely, stuff happens. And I think that's what we have to remember, is that as difficult as something may be, especially if we think, oh, we are in the wrong, you know, sort of, or I really shouldn't have done that. Actually, the sooner we do our best to put it right, the easier it is, because it gets harder and harder. And we've got a couple of comments here. Dawn just says, hi, Dawn from Purbeck. Thank you, Alexandra. And Bahar, and I hope I've said that right. Can I see an event during the session we just did, which can't possibly be true? Maybe my mind creates it because it wants to.
Well, either you're right, it's not true. My sense or my gut is that it might be something that's, what's the word, that can happen. It's not going to happen now. It's probably not going to happen within this year. Yeah. But something similar to that is going to happen. Yeah, so it's not that exact thing that you saw. If I'm making sense to you, it's not that exact specific thing, because that, I feel like what you say rang true. It is impossible, kind of as in that form, but something very similar and beautiful will happen. Yeah. And at least that you saw something good, and it wasn't something like you were terrified of that you kind of put up there. Okay, because the thing about your future is that it's like liquid. Yeah, you can move it, you can change it, you can mold it. Even though it's the Akashic records will hold like your divine timing, yeah, your life mission, kind of things like that. But other stuff is you are creating it as you're going along. Yeah. So, so you've got something wonderful that you think is impossible. One of the first things you would do is work on what is possible. Yeah. If we challenge ourselves far enough to what is possible and what isn't possible for us, we will go beyond our limits of what we believe to be possible. Yeah.
Yeah, Bahar said, with the person I imagined it, question mark.
No. I just gut instinct, and I could be wrong, so I'm not gonna, you know, but I don't believe it is with that person. That's why I said to you, it feels like it rang true. It is impossible in that specific circumstance, that specific person, but something similar and beautiful will happen to you. You've just kind of gotten attached to the form that it had to happen with this particular person. And we all do it, yeah? Or we've all done it. But don't get attached to the form, yeah? But you know, stay attached to this beautiful love, this beautiful thing happening, but don't get stuck on the form. Because love transforms, doesn't it? Yeah, it changes form. And so different people come into our lives. I guess that's all I'm going to say about that. And I hope that's helped you.
Let's hope so. All right, we've got Karen says, hello Alexandra, Karen here from London. Really interesting stuff, particularly what you said about psychic attacks. Malathi is one of our regulars from Sri Lanka, so she's just let us know she's here. And Bahar says, yeah, I've done that bit. The Akashic records, are they like horoscopes?
Oh, wow. What a great question. Are they like horoscopes? No, they're not that general. They're more specific to you. It's more like when you write a diary of what's going to happen in your life before you come into this life. And that's what they call the Akashic records. Yeah. You can, yeah, in a way, some parts of your future are like horoscopes. They can, or they may, or they won't happen. Yeah, because you can change them. You can evaporate a reality in a second. Yeah. As in, it can change in a second. You can change your own reality in a second. Yeah, but I wouldn't really say they're like horoscopes. I don't know that much about astrology. I think there's something in it for sure. But I imagine when they do like a horoscope forecast, they're highly skilled and they know all the ins and outs of every little thing that can happen. And even then, I very much doubt that they would tell you, like, this is absolutely guaranteed going to happen. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I'm a psychic reader. I have read my horoscope for entertainment. I have had people come to readings for me for entertainment. Yeah. So, but the Akashic records, no, they're not the same as horoscopes. They're kind of like a filing system. And let's say what you agreed to do when you came on Earth. For example, you agreed to be a healer, or you agreed to meet one person, one magical little child, and say something to them that changed their entire life, and they went on and changed the world. This kind of stuff tends to be in the Akashic records.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have choices. We can choose to change things. When we receive readings, etc., we can either choose to make them happen or not happen, or whatever. So we have choices all the time with everything. Bahar says thank you. At Mahari, and I'm assuming that is someone you know, just says hi, beautiful.
Sweet.
At Mahari here, looking forward to the meditation evening next week.
Oh yeah.
Is it possible to speak to you after this session privately, please, Alexandra? Well, folks, that's going to be something we're really going to need to go into very, very quickly. Karen says, I'm also looking forward to the meditation. And Malathi just says, thank you. So, I know that you've obviously got the offer that you're going to make to people, and I'm getting ready to put the website link up. So do you want to sort of tell people what you're offering?
Well, what they're getting, I think I'm actually doing another thing as well, so I can't remember this exact same offer, this exact one, but I think what they're getting is a nice gift of a percentage off a reading with me, and it's a certain amount of the first 10 or so that come.
Yeah. You said what you told me was a special offer for the first 20 listeners, intuitive reading with spirit guides, normal fee £95, this deal's $75.
Oh, I said 20 people. I must have been feeling very generous. Well, perfect.
Well, folks, it doesn't hurt you to sort of go in, sort of where, even when you're listening to this, just go in and just click it and see whether it's still available. I've just put the link up here. I will make sure straight after the program I go and put that link on under your bio on the About Us page, and I will go in and I'll see if the video's up on YouTube, and I'll make sure I put that link in. But the link is, where is it? I've just put it up there. www.thetahealingacademy.com/special-offer.html. So please, folks, so hopefully you've got that. And you can always, I know with the YouTube, you can go backwards and forwards till you can get it. But I will try and make sure that that offer is now everywhere I can put it, so that folks that are watching and folks watching the YouTube video, it's still worth taking a click on the link. You may be one of the lucky people to get that. So please do. Any final words that you want to share with us, Alexandra, before we have to close?
The more beliefs we clear about ourselves, our environment, the people around us, the clearer channel we become. And I mean that, the more beliefs, because the beliefs are like little walls or lines between you and the outside. Yeah, and they start to block your perception of what's really going on. So that's how you become a clearer channel. You just start changing your own beliefs, releasing ones that are limiting you, meditating, doing the process that we shared today, and rising above the small I, let's put it that. Yeah, rising above the small personality. Okay.
Yeah, and realizing that we are vast, that we're not restricted to the physical form we're in. We're all amazing beings, and we just have to trust and believe in ourselves. Okay. Yeah. So, folks, thank you so much for being with us, Alexandra. Thank you for being with us. It's been a real pleasure. Thank you for all that information.
Well, thank you, Sarah. It's been a pleasure for me too.
So folks, next week, actually on Friday, I'm going to be on Life Mastery TV with the Soul Talk guys. So that's on the Gift Healing TV website. You'll find that there. Next week, Patricia's show, and we've also got Healing Your Animals' Stress Issues with Flower Essences. So for those of you with animals and that you're really interested in what we can do with the alternative, the complementary for animals, so please join us then. All the information you're going to find for those, the links to register for them, are all on the Gift of Healing TV website. giftofhealingtv.com. Have a wonderful week. Alexandra, again, thank you so very much for being with us this evening. It's been a real pleasure. And folks, I look forward to seeing you next week. Take care. Have a good week all. Love, peace and light to you all. Namaste.